All right, welcome to the Anchorage Quarter 2 2025 market recap. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to go over the 4 different property types that are in the multiple listing service. This would be residential, condo, multifamily, and land. And we're going to talk about what happened so far in Anchorage municipality here in the second quarter. So really the first half of the year in 2025. Now we do this for a couple different reasons. Number one, we in our industry as real estate agents, we want to know exactly what's going on so that we can advise our clients. So if you are a real estate professional, absolutely use this information, use it to help your clients and make informed choices. If you are a buyer or a seller, this is really, really helpful to weed through all the noise, weed through all the static, and find out exactly what's going on in the marketplace so that you can make appropriate choices. If you're a lender, same kind of thing. It's just helpful to have the accurate data and be able to make some choices based on that. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to talk about what happened in the second quarter and what actions will that cause me to take. So we're going to start with residential. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind as we look at this. Number one is that, actually, we'll start with this. If you want all this data, don't worry about taking furious notes. Just at the end, you can send us a message and we'll send you this slide deck with all the information. Thing number two, this all comes from the multiple listing service. And so there's homes, there's condos, there's multifamily that sell outside of that. We don't have that info here. And so this is just all of what's in the multiple listing service. The last thing I'd like to highlight is this is statistics. And so with that, we can either start with a story and then find data to support it. We take the other route where we're just going to give you the data and help you analyze it, and then you come up with the story. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with residential, and we're going to take our time with residential, and then you'll kind of see the pattern, and we'll go more quickly through the other ones. So with that being said, let's jump in. Okay, residential. This gives us a good look back all the way to 2021, and we can see the volume is going up all the way since 2022. So this year we're at 8.69% increase in volume, 4% increase in units sold. So already 951 units sold so far. Average sales price is 522. That's a 4% increase. And so if you're watching this and you're thinking, God, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until the market cools down. I'm going to wait till interest rates change. I'm going to wait. You can see on that right-hand category there how much it costs folks to wait just in the last 4 or 5 years. And so that's what we're seeing here. Now we're going to spend some time going into some more metrics, some more things to look at so we can see where's the market going, what's the speed, what's actually happening here. First one that we want to look at is the number of listings. So the blue line is our active listings, and then the yellow line is our sold listings. And so you can see here that there's a big convergence as they come together. Homes hit the market and they're selling fairly well. And so for number of active listings, we had a high of 367 in June and a low of 211 in February. So not a huge amount of homes to look at here, especially compared to times in the past when there was anywhere from 600 up to over 1,000 homes to look at. And if you've been operating in this market, you've felt that and you've seen that. All right. Next number we want to look at is months of inventory. Now, this is a good measure as to what kind of market we're in. Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Or are we in what's called a balanced market? Now, a balanced market, according to the National Association of Realtors, is at 6 months of inventory. Below that is what's called a seller's market, meaning the sellers have control and a little bit of advantage to the sellers, lower days on the market, higher prices, the sellers can negotiate a little bit more. Anything above 6 months is considered a buyer's market, meaning that the buyers have some more control. There's a lot of inventory to look at, and sellers are hoping that they have their home bought by one of the buyers. And so months of inventory, very strongly in a seller's market. So the high of 2.2 in February, low of 1.3 in May. And so this has been pretty consistently the case all the way since 2020, really low inventory. Days on the market. This is from the day that the home hits the market until they've accepted an offer. And we look at the median here. And the reason we look at the median is it cuts out some of the outliers that would be included in it in just a strict average. And so for days on the market, we see a high of 19 days in January and a low of 3 days in June. And so in June, median is you put your home on the market, you're getting an offer in 3 days. So for buyers, that means you need to be working with a great agent. You need to have your financing in order. You need to know what you want. And when a home hits the market, you better be ready to go look at it, ready to write an offer. If you are selling your home, expect that, man, you should probably get some good activity in the first week, and you might even get an offer in the first week on the market, and that's represented here. All right. Sales to list price. This shows the negotiating power. So if I list my home at $500,000, or to make the example easy, if I list my home at $100, am I getting $100 or 99 or 98? And we see that this year we're getting a low, sellers are getting a low of 98.7% of their asking price and a high of 101. So 101% was the sales to list price ratio in June. So they're getting more than their asking price for their home. So this is good, and this is just really helpful to help educate how we can act when it comes to writing an offer and what to expect when we're selling a home. It's not this ask a high price, get a low offer, meet in the middle kind of environment. Okay, so summary for residential. Units are up about 4%, volume is up about 8%, and then sales price is up about 4%, and then the rest of the data that we just went through. All right, so that's residential. We're going to shift gears and take a look at condos next. And so we're going to go through the same pattern so you get a feel for it. So condos in Anchorage, volume is up 9%, 124 million. Up 4% for units, so 432 units sold, and then the average sales price is up to 287,000, so 4.39% there. All right, number of listings. Now this one has been, the condo market in Anchorage has been very interesting, starting, as you can see here, pretty sharply in 2022. And so for this one, the number of listings, excuse me, we had a high of 137 in January and a low of 98 in March. And you can see it's pretty much people are put a condo on the market, it's going to sell. Months of inventory, same conversation. Anything above 6 months is buyer's market, below 6 months is a seller's market. And we don't have to really talk about this. You can see we've been sharply in a seller's market all the way since 2020 and bouncing this year between 1 and 2 months of inventory for condos. Now, this is the whole municipality. So this would include Anchorage, Eagle River, Chugiak, Peters Creek, Girdwood. It includes the whole municipality in here. Days on market, high of 25 in February and a low of 4 in June. And this is from when a condo is put on the market until they accepted an offer. Sales to list price, based on what we've seen so far with the number of available listings and how many of them are selling. This is, of course, to be expected. So we have a low of 98% and then a high of 100%. And so condos are hitting the market, priced well, marketed well, and selling at their asking price. So summary for condos, increase in units, increase in volume, average sales price increase, and then there's the rest of the data that we looked at. Okay, we want to take a look at new construction, right? So you're wondering, hey, what's the breakdown of new construction in this whole mix? And what's the context on this? How does this compare with times in the past? And how does this compare with the neighboring Matsu Valley? And so you can see Anchorage new construction sold on the MLS in the blue, and then the Valley in red. And so you can see that both of them a bit of a decline in the last 4 or 5 years, and you can see that represented here. Now, it will be interesting to see what this looks like as we get the numbers for our December report when we do this again. So it'd be interesting to see how many of these homes were finished out and closed in the second half of the year. So year over year change, we can see Anchorage in the blue. Last year in the same time period sold 48 new construction homes. This time in the same time period, 38. And then the Valley went from 149 to 184. And so 20% decrease in Anchorage, 23% increase in the Valley for new construction. Again, I'm not here to tell stories, here to give you the data, and then you can work through it and figure out what you want to do with that. All right, land. Land is an interesting one. And so we can see on this one that land volume is up at 15 million so far, so almost a 40% increase compared to last year. Units are up 6%. And of course, when there's that big of an increase in volume and not the corresponding increase in units, we know that the average price point's gone up. So average sales price for vacant land is 217,000 this year so far, and that's a 31% increase over the same time period last year. So something helpful to think about with this, if you are considering, if you own land and you haven't looked at it in a while and you haven't got it priced in a while, it's worth taking a look and just seeing. Maybe now would be a good time to sell it. Maybe now would be a good time to refinance it or unlock some of that equity, or just know that it's worth quite a bit more at this point. So that's interesting. Okay, number of listings. You can see that there's less land listings compared to other times in the past, but still plenty to choose from compared to the amount that are selling. So active number of listings, we had a high of 229 in May and a low of 205 in January. Months of inventory, you can see this is pretty consistent for the last couple years. Big spike towards the end of 2023 looks like, and then again towards the end of 2024. And so months of inventory right now, we have a high of 34 months in January and a low of 8 months in June. Days on the market, high of 225 in January and a low of 20 in May. And so median days 20 in May. You put your property on the market and market it well and price it well, you're going to get an offer. List to sales price. This one, man, this is all over the place. And so we see a low of 84% in January, high of 100.7% in May. And so this is indicative of people putting their property on the market and then actually accepting, maybe they're accepting 80, 85, 90% of their asking price for this. And it looks, based on what we can see on this here, it looks like that's people have some negotiating power. So if you're looking at purchasing land and not comfortable writing an offer lower than their asking price, maybe take a look at this and go for it. Okay, summary for land: increase in units, increase in volume, increase in average sales price, and then the rest of the data that we just went through there. Okay, the last one we're going to look at is multifamily. So multifamily, we're going to start with the same thing. So $79 million worth of multifamily sold. This is duplex, triplex, fourplex, and on up. And that's a 3.4% change over last year. We're still not back to the 2021, 2022 volume levels. 130 units sold, which is a 5% decline compared to last year. And then the average sales price is $611, which is almost 9% increase compared to the same time last year. So you can see the 5-year run there as well. And if you own a multifamily and it's been a while since you've looked at the equity there, it would be worth talking to us, talking to a real estate agent, find out exactly what it's worth. It could be worth selling and taking that equity to buy the next property. It could be worth refinancing or maybe doing a line of credit to tap into that equity there. If you haven't looked in a while and your property used to be worth 400 and now it's worth 700, it's worth looking at. Okay, number of listings. We had a high of 89 in May and a low of 73 in January. You can see that here. Definitely less to look at compared to other times in the past. Months of inventory, very much in a seller's market. 6 was the high in February and then 2.59 months in April. Days on the market, looks like we had a pretty big spike there in February. And so that would be 68 days on the market. And then in June, we had 7 days on the market as what we're looking at. Sales to list price. So again, that negotiating power was a low of 97.5 in May and then a high of 100.5% in June. So multifamily summary, decrease in units, increase in volume, increase in sales price, and then the rest of the numbers that we just took a look at there. So the summary that we have for Municipality of Anchorage for January through June of 2025, units and volume are up for most categories. Sales prices up year over year. There's a really big need for more listings. We're in a seller's market just like all of last year. Low days on the market and list to sales price is really strong. So the action items for buyers, hire a great agent that can unlock that inventory for you. For sellers, hire a great agent who's paying attention to market trends and can help you in today's market. Disregard the news. Don't pay attention to what's going on in the news. Get the real data and then focus on what you can control. So hopefully this was helpful for you today. Of course, if you're interested in this presentation and would like to really dive into this or ask questions about any of the data points, reach out and we can get you this information and have a conversation about it. Thank you.